Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is our Arsenal preview series, our show in which we look ahead to the next Arsenal fixture. Thank goodness Premier League football is back and Arsenal are here to face Chelsea in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge. As always with our preview shows, I'm joined by some fantastic members of our Discord server. So let's bring them and introduce you to them. First of all, it's Paul. How you doing, Paul? You good? You well?
I'm good, mate.
Good stuff. Good to see you. How have you spent your international break? Has it been exciting?
No, as boring as anything.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I'm sure that people will share your sentiments in that regard. We're also joined, it's been a while, but it's good to have Joe back on the show. Joe, how are you doing, my friend? You good? You well?
Hey folks, yeah, it's good to be back. With regards to international football, would you watch a Republic of Ireland match at the moment?
I haven't. I did see
Willingly?
Ferguson score. Did he not? I think.
He did. It's 4-0 against Gibraltar. It's not exactly slaying dragons now, in all fairness.
It's a win. A win's a win, mate.
By the thinnest of margins, it's a win. But no, aside from that, like I said, I was away, and as I said yesterday, I've had other stuff going on. So it's been good the last couple of weeks, but I can't wait for club football to be back.
Indeed. I think you speak for many of us, indeed. And it's always fantastic to get a debutant on the show, and we have indeed got one for all of us today. It's Nutty. How you doing, Nutty? You good? You well? I will just take yourself off mute. You've pulled yourself a Drew. That's a classic TGT error. It's fine. There we go. Lovely.
We're always having sound problems.
It's always.
I've been well, guys. How have you been?
Yes, very good. How have you spent your international break, mate? How's your international break been?
I spent most of it waiting for the next Arsenal game, like most of us.
Yeah, indeed. I'm hoping that this connectivity is going to sort itself out very, very shortly. It's the way of the world, but hopefully it'll be fine. We'll just have to,
fine now.
We'll have to play that doesn't work out. Paul, let's discuss Chelsea, because obviously they're a side that have caused us not loads of too much harm of late. In fact, we've had a fairly comfortable time against them. What have you made of our hopes against them this weekend?
Well, their goal scoring has been abysmal, apart from the last game. They've been laughable at times, haven't they? But they just picked up in their last game, and I know it was only against Burnley,
Fulham, and who was the other team?
Burnley, wasn't it?
Burnley, yes, Burnley.
Yeah,
4-1.
Yeah, and they kind of look a bit good in that, you know. So yeah, although I'm quite confident we're going to beat them, I'm still a little bit apprehensive.
No, and that's fair enough. You're entitled to be apprehensive. You're entitled to be and have those concerns as well, because football is a strange sport and it can throw up strange results. The amount of times we go and play Manchester United expecting to absolutely batter them because we think they're terrible, and then they pull off a result is annoying. And I assume the same thing is also possible against Chelsea. Nutty, Chelsea, how have you viewed them so far this season?
They've been poor. They've been very poor. I have to admit, though, during preseason, they did look a little bit good and they got me a little bit shaken. But when the first game kicked off, all worries were gone.
Yeah, I think extinguished is the word I used when I said about Chelsea and any threat that I thought they posed to the title challenges this season, because they have been, and since they've lost Christopher Nkunku, I think has been a massive, massive loss for them. Obviously, he was one of the best players they could have bought in the summer, and he's not been able to play at all. Nicholas Jackson's been lent on, Sterling, Mudryk, Madueke, Gallagher, of course, as well. But they still have players there that are, to an extent, going to be a threat for Arsenal. I mean, Paul, Mudryk is a player that we know was linked to Arsenal quite considerably. And if, for those that watch the channel, we even were like almost ready at the idea of him joining Arsenal for so long. He didn't, and he moved to Chelsea, and he's not really done all that much. He did score against, I think it was against Fulham in that game, and has been aided by that boost of confidence. Are you worried about facing the Ukrainian international at all?
Slightly, yeah. I mean, I was like everyone, so excited about the possibility of signing him. It looked like the deal was done. You know, I was like, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing this fella. And then he went to Chelsea and he kind of bombed out. And I got a funny feeling it was a disappointment of not coming to Arsenal. He couldn't get over it. I really believe that's why he did. He bombed out. But I think he's got over that now. He's started to look a bit better. I'm just hoping that the pressure's going to be a bit much playing against us, and he's going to start blazing them over the bar and missing his crosses, and you know, just like back to normal Mudryk. You know,
normal Mudryk.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping for.
We'll have to wait. He came on, I think, in the game that we played against Chelsea last season, offered again very little. He'll be, I imagine, probably starting this game on the left-hand side, and that means Ben White, Saliba, etc., or Tomiyasu could be up against him, and we'll have to wait and see on our lineups to see how we're all going to be dealing with that. The other kind of narrative, Nutty, is the return of Kai Havertz, the return of Jorginho, two former Chelsea players for the first time facing their former club. I know Jorginho played in the game last season, but going back to Stamford Bridge, it'll be the first time that they both do that this season. Are you expecting either of them to play any kind of part in this game?
I'm expecting for Kai Havertz to play a big role in this game. At least I'm hoping. I mean, this is the type of game that can unleash the Kai Havertz we bought.
Have you been disappointed with him so far? Have you wanted more from him so far this season?
Disappointed, maybe, yes, but I'm not overly worried. I mean, it's his first season, new system. You can say new position as well, because Chelsea used to play a little bit out wide and then center forward. So he's learning. I mean, it took Granit Xhaka about 7 years to learn that position and play it properly. Why are we expecting Kai to just hit the ground running?
I think because Arsenal spending £65 million, obviously, is a lot of money, and a lot of Arsenal fans have expected to see a more immediate impact. That can't always happen. We know that, and we've seen that with other signings. And we spent £72 million on a player that didn't ultimately deliver either. But we're hoping that we see something different in this way. I think Joe is ready to return as well. Joe, are you here? You're loud and clear. Are you hearing me?
Yep, I hear you fine. Apologies. Circumstance happens.
No problem. Life
happens. For working around me.
Tell me how you're feeling about this Chelsea fixture.
Confident. I'm aware it could be a banana skin, but I am confident. Chelsea are not a good side, and 2 recent wins, no more than the undesirable spuds against lower competition, does not make challengers. So for all the bigging up there's going on about Chelsea have turned it around and we should be wary of them, recent evidence shows that they should be afraid of us and not the other way around. You look at the amount of money they've spent, and if you gave it to a 7-year-old, they probably could have spent it better. Like Todd Bowley has gone the Brewster's Millions way of blowing money on players. Only Man United are come close to them. So it's not exactly an honourable and desirable accolade to hold.
So I assume the analogy would go, if you gave Man United's money to a 6-year-old, they would spend it better, I guess, is how it would work.
Well, it's like a race to the bottom between the two of them. Who could do worse with the same amount of money?
Equally as poor in terms of their spending. Let's jump to our lineups. I think is probably the best way to go from here. Paul, talk us through your selection, because you've made a pick that I think is going to raise eyebrows, it's probably fair to say.
Yeah, I'll put Saliba at right back. And my thinking behind that is the speed of Mudryk. If not Mudryk, then his name just escaped me now.
Sterling or Madueke and
Sterling, yes, Sterling. We know that in the past, Ben White, he's had problems with fast players, really quick players. I know we're going to press them high, and we're going to try and keep them, push them back, not let them out of their half, but it only takes like someone to get, say Mudryk to break that press, and we could be in trouble. So I thought if we've got Saliba there, he'll have the pace to probably stay with him. We know that Tomiyasu can, he's probably his best position is centre half, so I've got no problem putting him in there. And that's me thinking behind that.
And through the rest of your team?
All right, rest of my team. Well, Gabriel, he's probably the best we've got in that position. Sinchenko, he can push up with White and Partey there. It's going to give Sinchenko a lot of room to run in front of Rice. Elpat, push up onto Martinelli and provide for Jesus. Odegaard, well, there's nothing else you can say about him, but he's just brilliant. I think he'll be a bit disappointed about what's happening in the internationals, but I think he's gonna take that out on Chelsea. Martinelli, with James. I mean, James looks like James is going to be back, and he keeps getting injured, and I'm just wondering with the pace of Martinelli, is James going to be just a bit worried and just hold back because he don't want to have to get in a foot race with him just in case he pulls up injured again. Saka, and Jesus speaks for himself as well. Yeah.
And Rice is your star man for this game. Why is he the one that stands out?
Because I just think that he will control that midfield. Gallagher and Enzo, I think they're going to be probably in the midfield. I think that he'll have them on toast, the two of them. I think he'll have them on toast. He'll keep them quiet, and I think that for me, he will be star man because of that.
Lovely job. Let's go to who's next on the list. Joe, talk us through your selection, mate. Oh, you're on mute. Mute button's on. There it is.
Beginner mistake. As I said,
I've got a lot of editing to do this show.
It's not exactly imaginative, except for Ramsdale coming in instead of Raya. I'm not fully bought into the idea that Raya is already the number one. You can call me naive, you can call me ignorant of the evidence, but I still think Ramsdale can get his place back in and start a game. He's played these sort of fixtures again a lot. He has a lot to offer to the team. Aside from that, as I said, it's as you would expect. There's no one really on their side I'm overly worried about. The reason I've gone for Rice Partey midfield as opposed to bringing in, say, someone like Vieira or someone like Havertz or even ESR, some more of a possession defensive based double sixes, is because if you look at how Chelsea have done, the few games they have won, they've dominated possession for a lot of time, and they've basically scraped the winner at the end. We're not going to let them take up the ball. We're going to control more of the ball than they were, and I think they will wither and whittle away sooner. If Chelsea haven't scored after 60 minutes, I think their heads will drop completely. I think Poch will look to just go home, and they'll just completely and utterly wither. Then we can look on and bring in on players like Havertz, like Vieira. Then we can look to be a bit more creative. But I think if we just weather them for a while, they'll just fold. So that's my rationale with the midfield. Odin as star player. He's our captain. He's our joint top goal scorer last year. He likes scoring against Chelsea. I expect him to have an absolute ball in this game. And as Paul said, following the international disappointment the Norway are facing, he's going to look to really turn it on. And I believe this will be the game for it.
So I hope so for one, not just for Arsenal reasons, but for fantasy reasons, of course, as well. I'd quite like a big game from that guy. Let's finish the Lions with Nutty. Talk us through your selection, mate.
Well, I think in goal it's settled now. Raya is our number one, unfortunately for some of our fans. And at right back, I went with Ben White to cope with the supposed Mudryk threat. The centre backs pretty much pick themselves. They have a great balance with Saliba bringing on speed and calmness. And then for physicality, you have Gabriel. And I went with Zinchenko on the left because I assume Chelsea will play a very low block. So Zinchenko is going to be very important when we have the ball to try and break those lines. In the middle, I went with Declan Rice and Kai Havertz. Rice picks himself as well. He gives us control in the midfield. Kai Havertz, I'm just hoping this is the game that Kai Havertz shuts a lot of mouths. And he knows the ground, he knows the fans, he won't be fazed by it. Martin Odegaard has been a little bit quiet in the last few games. We're going to have a lot of the ball in this game, so I think this game will suit him very well. Martinelli and Saka on the wings, if they are both fit, you play them. And Jesus is due a goal now, so I hope he can get a couple in this game.
Lovely stuff. I agree. I think on the whole with the selections that you guys have gone with, I know there's some slight variations in them. For me, I think I'd just go as strong as feasibly possible in this one. I'm not as brave as Paul to throw Saliba in at fullback. I've gone with the usual back four of White, Saliba, Gabriel and Zinchenko, Partey, Rice and Odegaard in the midfield and Saka, Jesus and Martinelli up top. Raya is in goal. I think for me, this is probably our best team. I think it's a toss-up between the goalkeepers for some, and that's completely fair. I don't agree, and I said this in the chat box just now, that suggestions that Raya is way better than Ramsdale. I think that it's a real close battle between those two. I think they have differing attributes for sure. And I think that for some games, Ramsdale might be better. I think you saw in that game against Brentford just what he can offer this team. And I'd have no issue if it was Ramsdale in goal on Saturday, which I think speaks volumes of the difference between the pair. There is obviously question marks about some players and their availability. Saka, Saliba, Trossard are all players that have not played during the international break. Martinelli as well hasn't, but we know that he came back for the Man City game. Partey did play during the international break. He played for Ghana, and suggestions are that he will be ready. We'll hear from Mikel Arteta tomorrow morning. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not we get an update on those players. And even if we do, the type of update that we get from Mikel Arteta these days is never a guarantee that it's actually what will happen. So that's something that you absolutely should be taking into account. We'll end the show with predictions. So Paul, scoreline and scorers, please.
Scoreline and scorers, I'm going 2-0 Arsenal. I'm going to go with Rice and Saka.
Stuff. Joe.
4-1. Let's be ambitious.
4-1. Nice. Who's going to score?
I'm going to go with Ben White Screamer to steal your thunder. I'm going to go with Saka brace, and then I'd like to see Odin get another goal. Obviously, be my star man. So Odegaard to get the last.
Lovely stuff. And finally, Nutty, tell us what you're going with. That is an incredibly long delay. I don't know about you, but that is a ridiculous delay. Nutty, if you're hearing me, mate, I know the connection is pretty poor, but if you're hearing me, tell us your scoreline and scorers, please. I think we've lost him. I think we've lost Nutty, sadly. We have lost him from the calls. That's a shame. But I was counting down and still haven't got an answer. We'll go to the chat box and we'll round things off. Apologies for that. It's something out of our control, I'm afraid, with connections. Canterbury Gooner says 1-1. Temi says 3-0 Arsenal. Havertz, Screamer, Saka and Raya late penalty. Steve says 2-1 Havertz brace. Thomas says 2-0 Jesus Rice Screamer. Mahathir says 5-0 Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Mudryk own goal, which would be quite funny. And Saliba there. Havertz to Mr. Sitter, says Leon Bell, which is not a nice prediction at all. And he says it's going to be a tough game. Mr. Reese says 3-1 Common Ugunas. Amira says 2-0 Martinelli and Tommy Screamer. It's coming one day with Havertz assisting both goals. Godwin, is going for a 2-1 Arsenal win. Leon reckons that a 1-1 is a good result. I disagree. I don't think a draw in this game is a good result at all. And MM says 1-1 as well. 3-1 from Vesman with Jesus, Rice and Saka. I'm going to go with a 3-0 Arsenal victory. Ben White Screamer, obviously, even though Joe's tried to steal my thunder there. And we'll get a goal from Gabriel Jesus. And I'd love to see Havertz return as well. That would be fantastic. Hopefully, we can get this result. Paul, thank you for your time, mate. Tell people where they can find you, what you're going to be up to.
Twitter, Granddaddy Gooner. That's about really. And the Discord. I'm in the Discord now and again. Not so much. Been quite busy lately, but yeah. That's about it, really. Thank you very much.
Lovely stuff. Joe, thank you and it's good to see you again and rejoining us. I really appreciate that.
Well, I'll be around. I'll be in the Discord periodically. Famously, I don't use social media. That hasn't changed. Yeah, I'll be around periodically. That's the best I can say.
Absolutely. We also appreciate Nutty for jumping on. Apologies for the connectivity issues that are out of his and our control. But it was a very good debut for the stuff that we could hear from him. So thank you again to Nutty for jumping on. Hopefully next time, and there will be a next time, we can sort those out before the show. Thank you everyone for listening. Really appreciate that as always. We'll be back, of course, with updates. Regarding tomorrow morning's show, I'm hoping to bring you something then. The problem is that the press conference has been moved to, well, it's not even moved, I just got the time wrong. It's actually at 9 a.m. Tomorrow morning, which means I'll be starting work at 8 a.m., which obviously conflicts with the time that I will be doing the 8 a.m. show. Hopefully, we're going to pre-record something that will be going out ahead of time anyway, so you will still have some 8 a.m. morning content. It just won't be the usual 8 a.m. live show. But thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Really appreciate your time as always. Do drop a like, subscribe, all that lovely stuff. And let's keep those fingers crossed for a big Arsenal victory on Saturday. And as always, up the Arsenal.